Welcome back to my channel. We are doing the butterfly kit, which looks like this. And you've seen my shorts on these and my work in progresses, and I did buy 2 kits. So this is the second kit that we're working on. And now that I've made all of these beautiful butterflies, I have some great tips, and in fact, these are actually pretty simple to put together. So it's basically a rinse and repeat on all the steps that I'll be telling you about. So if you take a look at the instructions, basically what I'm going to tell you is what the instructions is going to tell you. So I don't really have any like outstanding shortcuts or anything, but these are the basics. So first of all, make sure you sort your threads. Okay, sort your threads and count your threads and make sure you have them all. And here's a chart to go by, so make sure you sort these out. And then we're going to go by this chart right here. Luckily, there's not a lot of embroidery that you need to learn. Anything that you don't know, I do have short videos on these embroidery types. So if you want to hit up that playlist, I'll link it somewhere in the description of this video so you can check that out later. For now, I'm just going to go over how to put these together. So we're going to start with the basics. So basically, since I've made all these before, this is the best and quickest way to put these butterflies together. First things first, we're going to embroider all of the color felts. So embroider, embroider, embroider. And we're going to do it for every butterfly. Now how I like to do it is I like to take each like section of color. So here I'm going to be working on brown. So I look up the number in the instructions and I double check, okay, well, number 3, the embroidery is this line. And as you can see, there's only 2 choices for the outline stitch, and the choices are black or brown. So just make sure you're doing the right color for each of the pieces. And most of them are black, so there's only a few that are brown. So make sure you pay attention to that. So if you're working on the brown piece of felt, you can see 2 strands of black outline. Okay, and then when you're done, put it on the bottom of the pile and then do the next color. So the color yellow has the brown outline stitch, and it has the outline stitches for these pieces too. As you can see, I already pre-cut this out because we're going to show you the next part, but I have all of these outline stitched with brown and then move on to the next color and so on and so forth. Here's all the orange pieces, black outline for all of these. You see the pattern here. Green has nothing, so I skipped it. Blue has some outline stitch in black. White has some black outline stitches. I know I'm going fast, but it's pretty basic. So just stick with one color, finish that color. The blue didn't have any, so the blue's just mostly beads and sequins, which we will cover that a little bit later. The black one is special. It has French knots, 3 strands of white French knots. If you don't know how to do a French knot, check out the playlist in the description box. So you can just, review your French knots. But it's a really good way to practice your French knots, and I'm pretty sure that's the only thing on the black. So French knots on there. And then we have the purple felt, which is black. And that's all of it. See how simple that was? Okay, so you could just take any kind of free time and just add these embroidery stitches to your felt. Once you're finished, you're on to the next stage. So if you've just barely started and you want to follow along, go ahead and pause the video here and then do all of the embroidery on the felt and then come back. Okay. Now, if you've already done the embroidery, now we get to applique the pieces together. So the next steps are to applique the spots, and then we're gonna applique the inner wings, applique the inner wing. So it's for everything. So for each individual butterfly, you're gonna applique the numbers in the order that's listed. So you're still going to use this as a reference point. So say, okay, we're working on piece number 1, right, which is the orange piece. So we're going to cut that out. And then we're going to add the spots 2 and 6 to the top of the wings, which I already cut out. So I'm going to cut these out and I'm going to applique them on. And we're going to worry about beads and sequins towards the end. So, which is so different. Normally what you do is you add the beads and sequins and then you applique pieces or whatever. This is a little different. And I think it's a little bit more productive this way. So we're going to applique all of the felt pieces and stack them on top of each other to create the layers. And then once we do that for each individual butterfly like pieces, then we're going to add the beads and sequins. So I'm going to do this next step of cutting out all the numbers one at a time and applique them onto each felt piece where the numbers go. I do want to make note that these are not numerical, which I have noticed this is the first time I have encountered a kit that doesn't go in numerical order. Notice, applique spots 2 and 6. Obviously 2 and 6 are not numerical. I'm not quite sure who did that. You'd think it would be 2 and 3 right here. And then embroider and applique the inner wings 3 and 7. You'd think it'd be, 5 and 6. But notice it's so different. So pay attention to the numbers and what piece you're working on. Work on one piece at a time. I'm going to be starting with this orange piece number 1 and then appliquing all the felt numbers. And then once that's done, I'll set that aside and work on the second half of the butterfly, adding each bit. Here's another thing I noticed. There's 2 14s here. I believe this is not the first time it happens. Maybe it is. Yeah, it's the only butterfly that has 2 14s, which I thought was interesting. I'm not quite sure why. So make sure you don't disregard the instructions because it can get confusing. So right now I'm gonna cut these out and I'm gonna add 2 to number 2 and 6 to number 6 because we're still going in order of what's written here. So we're going to do that, and then we already embroidered it, so all we have to do is applique the inner wings 3 and 7, which happens to be 3 and 7, okay? And then so on and so on. And then once we have, so I'm just going to do this one butterfly section here, and then I will try and do the rest so you can kind of see what I'm working with. To try and make this video more efficient. So once I'm done putting all these pieces together, and once you're done layering, so we're kind of layering on top of each other, 5 8 7 6 2 3 4 5. This is not quite in order. 14 15 16 17. Well, it is a little bit, but anyway, so if you see what I mean. I will come back to you in the next clip and I will show you the next steps. Okay, big difference from the last clip. So I managed to get most of the appliquing done on all of the butterflies. The only exception are these tiny pieces, which I'm going to add with a bead and sequin because they're so tiny. If you want to add with a bead and sequin as well as applique it, I would add the bead first and then applique around it just because they're so tiny. Depending on how the quality of the felt is, depending on how thin it is, it may fray. So do that in your own discretion. You can see these are all missing too, and as well as a bunch of white spots that are missing. But I did get most of the pieces appliqued onto each of the butterflies, and now we're going to work on beading and sequining the pieces. So normally you wouldn't go through more than 2 layers of felt, but in this kit they allow you to do more than 2 layers. So we're going to actually be going through all the way to the back here for each bead and sequin. And let's see, what's the thickest? The thickest butterfly might be this one. It's got 4 layers, but it doesn't go all the way all 4. It does right here. This one's pretty thick too. So I will probably start with one of the thicker ones just to show you how to do it, and then I'm just gonna pick a color. If I'm going to start here, I'm going to pick probably the aqua. So I'll do aqua color. That way you can see how I'm doing that. And then once I do aqua on this butterfly, I'm gonna go around and do aqua. So here's some here, there's some there, and then I'll finish with that color and then move on to the next color. So let me grab the beads and sequins and a needle. Okay, I have my beads and my sequins right here, and we're just gonna start from the inside and go out. You can do this however you want. There's really no like right or wrong order here. 2 strands of aqua thread coming up from the bottom. I'm going through the entire all these layers, so it kind of with all this beading work, it kind of creates a nice sturdy butterfly wing when you're done. I mean, they're not really that flimsy to begin with, but yeah, okay. So while I'm doing this, I have a story behind the band-aid on my thumb. This morning I was making pancakes for my kids, and I reached into the kitchen drawer for a spatula to flip pancakes. And my thumb got caught on a potato peeler. And the potato peeler doesn't belong in that drawer, obviously, so I really nicked my thumb. Like, I mean, you know, there's no bone exposed or anything crazy like that, or no muscles, but it was a good chunk of my thumb, so my thumb is very sore, and doing this is trying to be careful. Let's just say I'm trying to be careful and not to use that part of my thumb because it hurts. That's my story for today. So we're going to be doing this with every butterfly. So just go one color at a time, make it easy for yourself. And then we're going to do it on the same on the other side. And then once we're done with this color on all the butterflies, then we'll start on the next color. So it doesn't have to be blue, it could be purple or black or yellow or whatever. So take your time and enjoy this part. I know I will. I love beading and sequining my pieces. So once you're done with all the beads and sequins, then we'll come back and do the next part. Okay, I would like to take this opportunity to point out that the kit does not come with enough aqua sequins. I am 5 sequins short. So note to self, if you're doing this kit, you will run out of sequins for the aqua color, and that's frustrating because now I have to basically pause this and work on the rest of the colors, but I can't finish this particular butterfly, so I'm gonna have to go and purchase some aqua sequins, which is a little frustrating. So just a tip for the future. For some reason, this kit does not come with enough aqua sequins. Alright, so it's been about, 2 days later, and I was finally able to finish all the beads and sequins on all of the butterflies. And real quick, I wanted to show you how I put the pipe cleaner on the back of each butterfly wing. And it's different for each butterfly, but it's the same concept. So this is what the back looks like. So I took some pipe cleaner and I just kind of went along my stitching and just kind of went like this. There isn't really good instructions for putting the pipe cleaner on the wings. This is just how I did it, and it worked out really well for me. It keeps the shape really well, and I just use a tack down stitch on all the curved bends and points, and then same for the bottom. You can see all my tack down stitches. I just use the same color as the base, so in this case I'm using orange thread for the tack down stitch. I used 2 pipe cleaners to complete the back of this butterfly. So it's about 2 pipe cleaners per butterfly. It doesn't necessarily always end like that. In this case, this butterfly might use 1.5 because there's no bottom to this one. So once I add the pipe cleaners to the back of all the rest of the butterflies, then we will put the backings on to enclose the back, and then we will attach the top to the bottom. And I'll show you how I do that. So I'm gonna finish putting the pipe cleaners on the butterflies, and then we'll get to the next step. Okay, so I was able to get all the backings on all the butterflies, like so. And I'm just working on the little butterfly bodies here. Each one has beads and sequins on them. And each one has a loop attachment and antenna. And I know this is hard to see because it's black, but I just want to show you how I attached these. So the antenna I attached the loop first. I attached it right around the neck area here with a couple of tacked on stitches. And then because the antenna was so long, I didn't want to re-knot it. So I ended up tacking it down all the way down here, and I tacked it down in the middle. And that seemed to do the trick. So now we're going to attach the front piece to the back piece, and we're going to add a pipe cleaner inside the body. I like to start right around here. Once I get to the head, I'll kind of weave in between each of the cordings to secure this really, really good. And then I'll probably stop right around here, and then we'll add the pipe cleaner. Real quick, I wanted to show you how I secure this. So I just take my needle and go right in between, like the cording, like in between. And then I come back through the front. Sorry. I'm gonna do it with each one. So I'm taking my needle and I'm going in between like that. And then once you're finished, you can continue on as normal. Just like that. Now we've got to the part where we're going to put the pipe cleaner in. And what I like to do, this tends to poke out sometimes, so I just take the tip of it and I bend it down like that. That way it doesn't poke through as easy. This one is a little curved, so you're gonna have to curve it just slightly. Take your scissors and cut it to size. Like that. And then keep appliquing the pieces together as normal. And then double knot it at the end. And then we will put the butterflies together. I wanted to start out with this butterfly because this is probably one of the trickier butterflies to put together. And in the instructions it says to applique the bottom only, leaving the top to be free. However, for some reason it doesn't feel like it's like secure enough, so what I like to do is I like to add a couple of tack downs right along here, starting right around here, and I'll do a couple tack down stitches there, and then I'll come down here and do some here. So let me just do those real quick. And I picked green because the top felt is green and I want to match the top. Just add a couple more right around here. Trying not to get it caught on the sequins and beads. I think it's safe to remove that. Let's see, I might add one more right here. That's green, and then I'm gonna switch to a different color. Tricky trick. Okay, this part is tricky. There we go. I'm gonna add one little tiny one here just to hide it, because it's better to have more than not enough. And luckily it's pretty subtle right here. Okay, now I'm going to take probably a couple of teal stitches, put them right here, and I might add a couple of purple stitches right here. Doing the same method, so I'm going to do that off camera just so I can get it done, and then we're going to add the body. So I ended up not adding the purple stitches. I didn't need them. I just added all the turquoise right here, and it was perfectly fine and stable. So luckily we still have the movement of the top, which is good. Now I positioned the body about this way using the picture as reference, and we're going to tack this down with a single piece of black thread. And you don't need a lot, just enough to make it secure. Do it all the way around. And then once you're done with that, then we'll move on to the other kind of butterfly. Here is the finished butterfly, and there's 2 of these kind in the kit, and the rest are like this. There's a top and a bottom, and we're going to be laying the top onto the bottom, and there is a outline of the body here. So the body is going to go right in the middle, like that. That's how that's going to go together. So this is a little bit easier to put together. I wanted to show you this one first because it's a little tricky. But you're just going to pin these together in the position, and then take a blue thread, and what I like to do is I like to flip it around like this, and sew in the back like that. So let's see if I can get it started here. Take a couple of pins. I'll probably pin it in the middle just so it doesn't go crazy like that. And then I like to flip it over, and we are going to applique from the back. And it's much easier to do that. So we're just gonna applique, and then this will be hidden behind the body. So we shouldn't need to do any front stitches. So should have had this prepped beforehand. I intend to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna start on this side. And I don't really care if I hide the knot or not, because it's gonna be in the back, so not a big deal. And we're just gonna go down the line here. Just make sure you're keeping it together. Try not to go to the front. So it should just stay. Probably take this pin out. And we might go to the front and tack that down a little bit better, but let's do that all the way down, and then we'll add the body. Same process as the other one. We're just gonna tack it down. And what I ended up doing for the first one was just doing like the body and whatever's attached here, and leaving whatever's, you know, hanging off alone. So I'm probably just gonna attach it to the blue part and then call it good. And then you'll have 4 more butterflies to finish, and then you'll be done. Okay, we got our second butterfly done. So pretty. So honestly, the only thing left to do is to curl the antenna, and I already made a video on how to do just that, and I will link that at the end of this video. So once you have the antenna curled, you will be completely done with your kit. And I hope you enjoyed making these. I know I did. They just turned out so beautiful. Okay, I'm such a dork. This is what happens when I work late at night and I put the loop on the wrong thing. So I was finishing the rest of the butterflies and I forgot that I did this one wrong. So luckily it's a pretty simple fix, because these are different. They hang like this, so they have to be put up here. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to fix this if this happens to you. And luckily it's easy. So I'm just going to tie the bottom here. Sorry, I had to do it a little off camera because it was hard to see. The black on black isn't very helpful. But I'm just knotting the end here as close to the bottom as I can get it. And then I'm just going to trim it like that. Okay, once that's trimmed, we can place this in the proper area, which is about here. So I'm just going to put it right about here. Hopefully you can see it. Again, it's black on black, so it's a little tricky to see. I'm just going to do a couple of knots in the back here. Ugh, let's get caught on everything. Okay, that should do the trick. And luckily it's black, so you can't really see. The other one, it's not black, but it's fine. And there we go. We are finished. Finally finished. So when you hold this up, it should dangle properly. Before it definitely wasn't. So I want to show you the rest of them. They're all finished. And they look beautiful. And they will be available for purchase in my shop. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Click on the next video to watch another one of my videos. And I'll see you then.